I'm not used to her smile 8 years down the line, and I know 19 years.
It can never be enough.
I'm not serving breakfast. If you want, you can cook, and I'm continuing with the cleaning.
Because God is the one who has blessed us with this child. So He has the manual.
There are some people who, when they come to your place, they belittle you.
I had a plethora of expectations.
I realized that there is beauty in dark ladies.
When I get money, I only use it for three things. For fare, credit, and just a small bit just to keep my pocket busy.
This is Family Times. Hello and welcome our dear viewer again to this exciting time, Family Times. This is where we talk about real issues, matters concerning family. And today we are going to talk about communication. I am your host, Dave Riaga. And just to introduce the guests to today, we have a lovely family that has joined us. I would want to ask them to introduce themselves, but just before that, let me introduce to you our co-hosts. Go ahead and introduce yourselves the way you normally do it.
Well, it's my pleasure to introduce my wonderful husband, Richard Olma.
Thank you. This beautiful lady here is my wife, Tabitha Opio.
Okay, next to me here is my wife. I call her Duish. Please introduce yourself.
I'm Linda Riaga. Hi, viewer.
Thank you so much. Now we have our guest couple. Allow me to give you this time to introduce yourselves the way you like it and the way you know it.
Okay. Thank you so much, viewer. Hi. Meet the family of Wycliffe and Stella. Thank you.
Thank you very much and welcome.
Just on that point, you're talking about communication. Communication is key. Communication is everything. Nothing happens without communication. Richard, as always, what is communication?
Communication is responses, talk between two people or even more. That's just my general view of communication. But here we are talking communication between husbands and wives, communication in the family, and this is a big one.
Yes, I like the word responses between wife and husband.
Yes.
Responses.
Yes.
Tabi, your own definition of communication.
I think I would still go with what Richard says, because there is no communication. One person cannot communicate to himself. Because if I tell Richard something and he does not respond, of course there are different ways to respond. But if he does not, if I spoke to him verbally and he does not respond verbally, then I don't take that as communication. Yes.
Tai, what is your idea of communication as far as marriage and family is concerned?
Well, I think communication is expressing one's views or opinions, expecting a response from... the communication has to be between two parties. So when one is expressing his opinion or ideas, he expects a response from the person that he is talking to or expressing his views to. Yes.
So it involves expression of ideas, opinions. Let me just add another one, feelings.
Yes.
Linda, how do you, and emotions, how do you communicate, or what is communication?
Communication, what I can say about communication is when I talk to someone, I expect a response.
Yes.
Yeah. So it may be, maybe your response can be either in body language form. You can reply me in body language form, but at least there is a passage of information and a reply.
We are coming to forms of communication or ways of communication, but let me just give Stella a chance to maybe tell us, you have a different idea on what communication is?
Okay, thank you so much. I think I want to concur with what my brothers and my sister have just said, but there's something that when someone asks for something, you expect a response. So if you don't get that response, there's a breakdown somewhere. So it's important when you're communicating between the two, you must have a response. So we'll be having a proper communication there.
So we'll get to understand better when we're talking about the forms of communication, because what is coming out clearly is that when I communicate in whatever form I've communicated in, I expect a response.
Sure.
So if I communicate well, I expect
A reaction.
a
Good
Similar.
a good or a similar response. Now, let's talk about forms of communication in our family. And I want to start with Linda. What is the best form of communication that you use?
My best
Of course,
form,
I know. Tell our viewer.
yeah. My best form of communication is when I say something and it's not given in the way I want, what I do, I always keep quiet.
And that hurts. And you'd ask her, you know, normally we would talk about so many things. I would ask her, how was your day? And she would say, she would start from the time she left the house. And you know that I have to do some good listening.
Right.
Up to the time that she came back.
Yes.
Up to the time that she even gets to the door.
Right.
But when there is something wrong, she will tell you, my day was fine.
Right.
That's it.
That you have to understand with us women, because women,
Oh, yeah.
women, we can talk. Yes, and that's a God-given talent. And so men, you also have to be very patient with us, because once we're also very keen, so that when I start talking, and Richard, you know, I'll be very keen on his body language.
So the other bit is body language.
Body language is very important. Anytime you're communicating to somebody and you see them roll their eyes or whatever their mouth, you know that there's no interest here. And when there's no interest, it also dies. And it is not good for a couple.
Dave, my wife says that women like to talk. I want to say men don't like to talk.
So how do we bring these two together?
Yes.
This one is up here, this one
Yes.
is down here. Is there a common ground?
It is interesting when things change. Then people get a little angry, a little unsettled,
Uncomfortable.
and uncomfortable. If I begin to talk, she goes quiet.
Yeah, like shock.
We want to, I want to respond and be at her level. And I'm also going to, and somebody will go down now. Then communication ceases to be there.
Yeah.
Or meaningful communication just runs away. That's a moment when I say, I change the subject. And I ask for other things which I know would make her happy. And then she will begin to respond differently. Yes, if there is no proper communication between the two, husband and wife, then there's bound to be a lot of problems.
Just before the miscommunication bit,
Yes.
I just want us to focus on the forms, or the ways that we communicate in the house. Tai or Stella, how do you communicate?
Yes.
Well, in my house, I want to give my example. I have heard Linda talk about sometimes keeping quiet. But in my house, sometimes keeping quiet is also a form of communication.
Yes.
Okay.
Because if I am telling my wife something and she keeps quiet, I know what she has communicated,
Okay.
that it is not the right time to talk. And to me, I feel that that is also a form of
That's
communication.
true.
Acceptable to you. isn't it?
Yeah.
So fine.
Okay.
So yes, Stella.
Okay, if I may
you
respond to
stand
what you
accused?
just said. When I keep quiet, that one will depend on how he responded
Yes.
to my
Your
Your
previous
first-
my previous, yes.
communication.
So if in case I felt like
other time.
I was not comfortable, the only thing I'll do is just to keep quiet. Because if in case I talk, maybe something will come up. I'll give myself time and I'll compose myself. Then I'll find the right time when we can maybe talk.
So are we saying that keeping quiet is a way of communication, or keeping quiet is a tool
It is a tool.
used against some people?
It is just a tool,
in
not a way of
communication.
communication.
It's a tool.
It seems it's a case of the ends justifying the means.
No, but at times,
it-
it's
communication.
really good.
Yeah, to pause.
At times, it's good to pause, but not pausing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good to pause because, truly speaking, just like Stella said, you know, at times your spouse can tell you something, and whatever is here, you're like, Lord have mercy. If you said what you really wanted to say,
At that time.
recipe for
Do I
disaster.
do that?
Well, we're not perfect couples.
Yes.
We all have issues here and there, and we go through that.
Okay.
So those moments that we go through, you know, you only pause. But we also have learned lately that when you pause, you don't pause forever.
Yeah.
You pause and you pray in your heart. That one will have some positive outcome.
Okay, let's
Okay,
talk
Dale,
about
maybe
yes,
before
Stella.
you go on, there are some situations when now I've decided I want to talk about it.
Yes.
So immediately when you want to talk about it and something else comes up,
Right.
you know, his response, you know, you're like, can we talk? And he's not ready to do that. Maybe the response that came out made you again to rethink of doing another pose again.
But one thing we have learned,
And that is where we are going to, Tai. That is where we are going to. One thing we have learned.
one thing we have learned is that we have learned to deal with our issues, especially when it comes to communication. We don't let our anger or you know, being mad at ourselves, you know, take the toll of us.
Yeah.
We always find a way of coming down and resolving our issues.
Have you ever told her something that you regretted later?
Have I? Yes.
Something that probably you really didn't mean it, and now we are into miscommunication. Something that you really didn't mean to hurt her, but eventually it came out so hurting.
Yes.
Okay, maybe I help him. Allow me to help him, please.
I know she knows what I want to say.
No, okay, there are some kind of dresses that I like putting on. So sometimes when I get a dress, sometimes what I do, I just take a photo of me. I go to where maybe I want to buy it, I take a photo and I send it to him. Kindly, honey, how do I look in this? Or sometimes I can just decide to come with it. Why? Because I like it.
Yes.
So when I come with it, I put it on. And I'm like, how do I look? And to my surprise, he says,
This is
I don't like it. Remember, this is something that I like.
Yes.
So what I do, I'll just keep the dress. I can't take it away. I just keep it, and maybe I put it on when I am alone. Yeah, that is what I do. So what hurts most? It's, you know, ladies, there are things that makes us sometimes unhappy, and when you hear that from your spouse, someone you want him to appreciate you all the time, and you hear a negative response from you, feel discouraged, and you feel like I think maybe he doesn't like me. Sometimes you feel so. Yeah.
So sometimes, you know, how someone responds to you makes you, that is called invalidation. And you know, so most of the time, I liked the example that you gave about the dress, and then you ask, how do I look? Expecting, even if you liked it, but then you were expecting something, a nice word.
Yeah.
You're looking nice, you're looking gorgeous. My wife here will be like, not bad, simbaya. And you know the way the face looks and what she's saying, there is
Two different
worlds. Not bad. Now, what is not bad? I need something that can make me feel that I am home. Are there cases, Richard and Tabby, where you feel like Richard say Stella, I don't want to cut you.
Okay,
Yes.
there's something I wanted to say. Maybe if he's supposed to give me something that does not look nice on me, he's supposed to tell me, okay, the tone that he'll use.
Oh, yes.
You know,
Oh, yes.
the tone. And the way he says it out, even if it is negative, he should say it in a good way.
Right.
We have a problem, by the way, women, when someone comes out and is like, you don't look good. You know, the tone matters. Yeah.
Lessons learned. But time, go ahead.
But sometimes, suppose the intention is you want to make her feel a little bit bad. You know, like, you know, you can't beat her.
You want to rub it in.
You can't beat her, you can't pinch her. So the only thing you can do is just to say something that to make her feel a little bit bad.
Hurt her.
Kidogo, you know. So sometimes
To
that
provoke,
happens.
sure.
Dave,
Richard.
it's a very difficult situation, I believe, for many people. Somebody asks you for your opinion, and you express it the best way you can. Simply say, no, I don't like it. And, or you probably respond by saying, what do you think about it? You throw it back to them. What do you think about this dress? And it is flown before you, and it is standing with all the shaping and everything. And you say, I don't like it. Being very honest, straightforward, to the point. I don't like it. Now, when that is, you say you need to sugarcoat it. That I think to me would be false. I'm very straight with that. If she asks me, I tell her, no, I don't like that. She may still wear it because she likes it. But for me, I don't like it. And again, I expect the same. But I'm lucky in this case, I would want to say, because nearly everything that I wear is chosen by her. So she goes by her choice. I can feel constrained sometimes to wear something that I feel is not good for me to wear today. I don't feel like doing it. One of the things which is very difficult for me with my wife, usually, is to match things. A few minutes, we agree sometimes, in a few minutes we disagree. I feel a little bit patronage, you know. She's patronizing me sometimes. It's just a man's feeling, probably. But that's me. So it must be done with all honesty.
So what I've gotten from your statement is that you learn to tone down.
Yes.
Be the bigger person.
In fact, by letting her choose for you what she thinks is right for you.
I've lied low.
Even when it you feel like putting on a yellow shirt and red pants is just out of the
and whatever socks.
And Tabitha insists that, Richard, this is fashion.
Right.
Linda, we are talking about something that you have kept in your heart, another one piles, and then one day, after fermentation, now it explodes. And do you go with that? How do you handle that?
Okay, me, most of the times, I myself, I usually forget. At times he hurts me, but when he asks me, nilikufanyia nini, I'm like, I know you hurt me, but I don't remember what you did. That's what comes with me. Yeah, me, I usually forget what he did, but I remember that one day alinikosea. But that's what happens.
I can never forget.
That's the trouble I go through. I want us to talk about putting down your spouse.
Yeah.
He talked about it, and it came out so well. You just want to give a little bit of what did you say? You don't want to beat her up?
No, you know, well, we are Christians. We can't fight. But you know, like a child, you can discipline by some few strokes. But your wife, you can't beat. So sometimes you just say something that you know will hurt her. Kidogo too. Yeah.
And how does
just
it
to make her
feel
feel a little low?
No, not really low, but I don't know what to say. But
To show that you're not happy?
yeah, you know.
That one, I mean, what Wycliffe is saying is a practical thing that happens in most of the marriages. And most couples are going through that, and you find that when you do that to your wife, the self-esteem goes down.
Sure.
And when the self-esteem goes down, my brother, you're finished. Because this woman will not have any confidence to face the world. And when your wife does not have the self-esteem is down, tell me what she will do to the children and to the house in general. Sure. That means you will not go ahead or develop, or, you know. So as much as you want to do something to make her feel down, I think the best thing is find a way. You've been married for this number of years. Talk. You know, most of the times we talk when we're angry, and that will not get any solution. Sure. Whenever you're happy, talk about it and say, you know what, sweetheart, I don't like it when you wear red. I don't like it when you make hard chapatis. I don't like it when you make this and this. I don't like it when the couch is like that. So at least you agree, then you'll not have such.
Yes.
Well,
That's my
I
opinion.
have had an experience of the same, where
Yeah.
you come to the house and you say, I don't like the way things are put.
Right.
And then she tells you, why don't you put them the way you like?
Which is all right.
I feel hurt.
No, she wants you to give her the example so
Are
that
we-
she knows
Now
that
you
this is,
want it.
this
Are
is
we
exactly how
talking
Wycliffe
about,
wants it.
okay, yes. Are we talking about the tone that Stella talked
No,
about?
not really the
or-
tone,
Yes.
but telling me now to do it
Right.
the way I
you
want
your-
it. Then I feel like,
It's like the way the things are, it's
They're
her
not-
way.
Right.
yeah, it's her way. So you want me to do it my way,
Right.
which makes me feel bad because I want her to do it.
Again, and you don't like it.
Uh-huh. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are talking about communication, and you see how things are and the way things are getting. What probably we need to ask ourselves is that when is the best time to communicate? If Linda hurts me, do I need to tell her there and then because she has a tendency of forgetting stuff? Is that the right time? And you realize that in a family there is the communication is key, because I remember one man once had an argument with the wife, and since he didn't want to talk to her, he wrote, "Wake me up at 6 a.m." So when the lady left, she wrote, "Wake up at 6 a.m." The gentleman woke up at 10.
Oops.
After this break, I'm going to tell you more about this gentleman. Stay tuned. Welcome back, viewer. This is Family Times. Just before we took a short break, we were interested in talking about this gentleman who wrote a note to the wife just before he went to bed and said, "Wake me up at 6 a.m. Yes. And of course, he went to bed. Never spoke a word, but wrote a note. The wife obviously woke up before the man and again used the same communication method and wrote, "Wake up, honey, it is 6 a.m. The gentleman woke up at 8 a.m. but found the note.
Yes,
Was that communication?
it was.
It was.
It was communication. The gentleman communicated in that manner of writing. The lady responded the same way. That's communication.
Okay, so
It may not be the right communication,
Right.
but all the same, it was communication.
So how do you use the same means of communication to respond to your spouse?
Now, Dave, you remember this lady, her intention may have been that the man does not get to wake up
message,
on
yes.
time.
That's one.
Because honestly, if she wanted the man to wake up at 6, she would have physically woken him up. But how do you write a note to someone who is asleep to read the note?
Tai, the gentleman wrote a note because he never wanted to speak to the wife.
Speaking.
That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. That's what I'm saying. This lady, the intention was that she does not communicate effectively to the husband. Yes.
Okay,
Yes, Stella.
let me also say, as you have just said, that maybe there was a problem in that house. People didn't want to talk to each other. So the only way was just to do was to write, which was a problem. And the lady is also communicating that, my friend, I'm going to do exactly what you have done. And again, I'm also reminding you that it is important we do the right communication.
Correct.
Yeah.
Exactly. I think
Yes.
What I can say is
Yes.
that when maybe your spouse responds in a different way, I think we should be proactive. We need to calm down, then think of a way of saving our marriage.
Yeah.
That's the main point.
Not reactive.
Yeah, not reactive.
You know, there are people who have answers in their mouths. Pap,
Yeah.
you say something and they...
it's a tit for tat, fair
Yeah.
game.
Yeah, that's
Throw
what's
it and they
happening
throw
in
it
that
back.
family, and it's
But-
I think communication in these cases are affected by the responses to certain situations. We express what we feel, or we express what is in our minds by communicating in a certain way.
Yeah.
And normally, usually, it has been affected. The situation was such that my response is demanded from a certain angle, but where we are coming from, I wouldn't give it that way because I still have something in mind which is affecting me.
Yeah.
So I give you a dose equal to the one you gave me.
or much
And then,
worse.
yes, we call that communication, but it isn't good. It's a bad communication because there should be some proactivity. We need to be proactive, as Linda says. we need to look at the bigger picture and say,
Yeah.
oh, this is my wife, this is my husband. Fair enough, something has happened.
You're one team.
Yeah, but this is how I should respond.
Yes.
You know.
So practically, how do you come to an agreement in a situation whereby you don't want to talk, but there is need for you to talk? Who comes down? There is need to talk, not writing notes, Stella.
Okay. We want us to remind ourselves this, that you didn't marry an enemy.
Wow.
You married a friend. And if you're thinking you married an enemy, then you guys are not supposed to be together. So the way you're supposed to treat a friend is totally different from the way you're supposed to treat an enemy. So when you know that this is my friend, I should calm down. And that is why I want us to read the book of 1 Corinthians, chapter 13 and verse 4 through 5. I'm supposed to be patient with my husband because
13?
I love him. Yes, 13, 4, 5.
It says, love suffereth long and is kind. Love envieth not. Love vaunteth not itself. It is not puffed up.
Yes. So I'm supposed to be patient with my husband, who is my friend. I'm supposed to always, if there is anything and I find him is higher, I should always find myself doing what? Coming down. And again, it's supposed to be both of us.
Not you, the only one who is always coming
both
down.
of us.
Ty.
And you should take it not.
I remember there's a time
down.
we had some disagreement in the house. And she went mute. And I also went mute. But many a times she's the one who usually breaks the silence. And then this
So
day,
you are a tough one.
now this day she tells me, why don't you start talking?
You have known how to resolve these issues.
Actually, I was asking him, I am the only person who always starts up the communication. Why can't you try it?
But again, you remember even this time when she's asking me, why don't you start talking? She's the one who was
She has
starting.
already talked. She has already spoken. So it's
Now,
broken.
there's a reason why God gave us a pair of ears and just one mouth.
Yeah.
Would you want to talk about that?
Yeah, so that you can be able to listen more
Talk less.
and talk less.
Correct.
Then again, what I can say is that I can have control over myself and not over my spouse.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
that thing, if I know I can do that then, and if he also knows that he has to take that virtue, I think all of us will calm down. So I will always calm down, pause. Then I can, when I'm proactive, definitely, you'll not be adamant. One day, one time, 10 tells, you'll always calm down.
I want us to talk about prayer as a means of communication, of course, to God. And this is from the book of Matthew chapter 6, verse 6. It talks about Jesus praying to God as a family. How do we communicate up there? Do you do it alone? Do I do it alone? How do we pray? Because prayer is also a way of communicating. In fact, it is the only way of communicating to God. How do you handle prayer in your families, Tabi?
Okay.
We do devotion as a family, and each and every day there's a person who prays. But I also have my personal time
Sure.
with God. Because truly speaking, there are things, there are things that you can only tell God. It's not like when you're together as doing devotion, you can't, but you also need to talk to God personally and give God,
Look,
time.
this impacted me rather differently when she started doing this. We live a life. It's a journey, and there are points when things change. Sometimes we change towards the good, coming from the bad one. I would be surprised. We have just prayed together, and she's ahead of me in the bedroom. Then I get into the bedroom and I find her kneeling and praying. And my mind runs very quickly. Is this prayer against me? Because we have just prayed it together. What is this again that you're going to do
You know
away
what?
from me?
Now that you've said it, the truth be told, when I first got married, the way somebody gets into your last tired nerve, I would pray, but I would do a wrong prayer. I would say, God, look at him, change him.
Oh, you see,
Yes, that
is
was
my
Kitambo.
point.
That is a long
That's my
time.
point.
Now,
But
Richard,
Some people do that.
I also have the same scenario,
Yeah.
Right.
now that you've talked about, I've never asked her, but now I just want to mention it because when we wake up in the morning,
Yes.
and sometimes I would want the two of us to pray.
Yes.
She feels very comfortable praying alone.
Yes.
And sometimes, you know, when I want to, something that I can't mention here, I have to wait for her to pray, and it takes time. And I'm like, is she counting the entire neighborhood?
I
praying
feel
for
you.
the entire
I feel you. You know.
there's nothing wrong praying
what is
by
coming
yourself.
out clearly is that we need to have family time.
Yes.
And we also need
Indeed.
individual time to pray
Yeah.
to God.
Okay, maybe I mention also something. Families, we have children in our family.
Yes.
Okay, when we are doing devotion together with our family or our children, we're not supposed to have a long praying session because sometimes the children get bored and they can sleep. I'm talking about maybe in the evening. And that is why it's important when you have devotion in the house with the children, you take the shortest time possible so that they can also, I'm giving that as an example because there's a time my daughter told me, Mommy, please, kindly can you pray short prayers?
Oh, yeah.
Yes. So I'm also reminding those families who have devotion together with their children that you can make it shorter so that when you go to your bedroom, you can have your sweet time or you can create your own time maybe at night when others are asleep to do your own personal prayers.
Dave, I must say something after Stella.
Yes.
Communication with God embraces all other communication in our families.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's very important that as families, we communicate with God together. And it is also very good and probably even better for people to talk to God individually.
Yeah.
I may want to pray over a certain matter about my wife, and we're in the presence of children, and I may want to think, now, that may not be appropriate.
Sure.
I've learned to accept that, and I'm practicing that on my
Thank
own
you.
now. Even though initially I thought, this prayer must be against me. You know, it's important for us to do that as families.
And you know, there are some times that you feel low.
Yes.
You feel like I'm not able to pray the way I need to pray. And when you see your wife on her knees, you definitely know that she has included you in the list of the people she's
Sometimes
committing to
you,
God.
you might have done something knowingly. Probably it's a very challenging sin, and you just want to put yourself aside and pray. And it might be because you did something against her. And bringing it back, you feel, no, I need to separate myself and pray over this matter, seek forgiveness, so we move forward peacefully.
Sure.
Now, we are on to that stage where we need to give our final submissions, but I just want to ask, because communication is a two-way traffic. I give my part and I get a response.
Yes.
We've just talked about prayer as a means of communication. Does God communicate back to us? As we do our final submissions, does God communicate back to us? Let me start with Tai.
Yes, God does communicate back to us. When we read His Word, we get to know what He intends of us or what His expectations of us are. And of course, when we pray to Him, that is also our way of talking to Him. And in this case, I would want to give our viewer a text from the Bible, the book of Ephesians, chapter 4, verse 29 and 32.
29 says, let no corrupt communication proceed out of your mouth, but that which is good to the use of edifying, that it may minister grace unto the hearers.
Amen. And verse 32.
Verse 32 says, and be ye kind one to another,
Yes.
tender-hearted, forgiving one another, even as God, for Christ's sake, hath forgiven you.
Amen.
Amen.
That is what God expects of us, that we may love others just like He has loved us. Yes.
Thank you, Wycliffe. Stella?
Yes. God communicates to all of us. We have seen several examples in the Bible of the people who have walked with the Lord and they have seen what the Lord has done to them. I also want to believe that each and every one of us has a testimony to tell of what the Lord has done to them. So I also want to encourage and remind the viewer to go back and read the book of Job. We are not going to read it. It is a story that has always inspired me. And when the devil was giving a report, going to with the rest to go and
Present themselves
present them before the Lord, and he was able to testify that indeed it's because of the hedge of fire that has always protected who? Job and his family. So I'm asking that we ask God to come to our families. We put him first in everything. Because he says that he is the vine and we are the branches. So without Christ, we cannot do much. So that is why I'm reminding you that, viewer, kindly invite Christ to come into your lives and into your family. Because he's everything in our lives.
Thank you. Thank you. Linda?
To our viewer, mine is just short. It's coming from the Bible, which it's a verse that says that pray without ceasing. Prayer is the key.
That is 1 Thessalonians 5:17. Amen. Tabby?
Mine is simple. Communication is key. And when you do not communicate to your spouse, that is recipe for disaster. And how does God communicate to us? Through those beautiful hymns that we have in our churches.
Thank you for
At
pointing
times you
that
cannot
out.
pray. You sing that song,
Amen.
and God will be speaking to you.
Thank you. Thank you for Richard.
I,
you have 20
I
seconds.
want to say this to our viewer, Dave, that silence may not mean communication, but silence may only be buying a little time. Let us be patient. When there seems to be no communication between the two, just give it time and pray. Things will be okay.
Well, viewer, that is it. It can't be better than this. Thank you so much, our dear friends, for bringing the aspect of communication well. And God is still communicating to us. God is still in the business of reforming marriages. God is still in the business of communicating to us. If you read the book of Hebrews chapter 1, verse 1 and 2, it says, God is speaking to us through his son, Jesus Christ. And that is in the Bible. How best can it be to be here at Family Times? See you next time, and God bless you.